is prompt engineering a dying profession as well in itself? If large language models figure out how to clarify questions and learn what people want when they pose a slightly not concise question, then do we need a prompt engineer? Should the model just adapt to a normal human being?
One thing that is very annoying with all of these prompts that are very specific is that they are model dependent.
Yes.
So we know that the thing step by step works best for GPT-4. But I don't know, will that work best for Llama or Anthropic or whatever is the thing from
Depends
Twitter?
on the training data, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on the training data and really can also depend on the architecture of the model.
The large language model is basically a reflection of the training data. And as such, prompt engineering manifests itself as ways in which questions are answered well on the internet in many ways.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Dev and Doc podcast. What will we be talking about today, Josh?
So today I want to talk about prompt engineering. It's something that's really soaked into the public consciousness and lexicon recently, and it's something that everyone's talking about. And finally, I want to pose this question to you. What does large language models and prompt engineering have in common with the telephone operators in the 1870s?
Yeah, I don't think they have anything in common, but okay. Let's see.
There's a lot in common. You'll find out why. But first, let's talk about, we hear prompt engineering so much, and it's initially it was this very sought after job, something that was very mystified. So in the early days when ChatGPT was first released, Anthropic released a job post on their website, $250,000 for a prompt engineer to work with their large language models. But of course, since then, things have changed, and now we can see everyone just seems to be calling themselves a prompt engineer. From the average Joe to the, it only takes you a second to look through Twitter or LinkedIn, everyone's a prompt engineer. No,
exactly. I mean, I have the rules there that in Twitter you can define like what posts do you want to block. And I have the rules there that if someone calls himself a prompt engineer or mentions anything about like these are the 10 best prompts or top 10 ways to, that's immediately blocked. I don't want to see them ever.
Top 10 prompts for productivity and well-being.
But everyone is doing that. All of these like AI influencers are now like, oh, these are my top 10 secret prompts. Or like get these 5 for free and these 5 you have to pay $10 to get them.
Yeah, no, there was a website that I saw that literally sold prompts. So, you pay per prompt and, they each sell a secret sauce.
Yeah.
But how did we get like this? Like,
I think
where did we go wrong?
I think it's the standard thing. The moment something becomes like overhyped and everywhere, a lot of people go into it. And just the thing here is that it was very easy to get into it. Like, what do you need to become a prompt engineer? Nothing. Like a couch and a keyboard. Exactly. Anyone can be like, oh, let me ask ChatGPT something in a specific way, and then that is my secret and that I can sell to others. There is not like, it's not like coding. It's not like, I don't know, a lawyer. If you want to call yourself a lawyer, you really have to know a bit.
You need to develop knowledge and expertise.
Yes, exactly. You need 10 years of school to do that. But here, you needed 5 minutes of typing and okay, now I'm a prompt engineer.
I mean, that's very sad. But why don't we talk a bit about what prompt engineering actually is for our listeners? So I guess from my understanding is prompt engineering, just to demystify the whole thing, all it is basically you're trying to get the model to perform what you want it to do and get the outputs that you wish to achieve. The best examples are with large language models. There are problems that we have talked about in the podcast about the models being too verbose or not giving you exactly what you want. So it's how can you change the wording and the sentence for the model to give you something you want?
Yeah. No, exactly. It is clearly, concisely, precisely specifying what you want. And this usually means much more than we think. I think usually when you say like, I need to clearly specify what I want, and I'm asking a question like, what is diabetes? Like, to me, it might seem that I just need to ask, oh, what is diabetes, the medical condition, I'm a doctor, like, tell me a bit about it, I want to learn more. But there is many more things. Like, there is also, how long do you want the answer to be?
Right.
How in-depth do you want it to be? Do you want it to cover the basics, or do you want that to be like from the chemical side or biological side, or from the medical side, or from the side of consequences of diabetes, or from the side of treatments of the...
And
like,
what's your base knowledge, right? Are you
exactly.
a doctor? Are you a patient asking, who are you?
Yes, and it's that, and it's much, much more, because you are meeting this model for the first time, and it doesn't know anything about you.
Yes.
So you have to be precise in asking that question so that the model understands what do you want to know. And yeah, basically that's the core of the prompt engineering, or that should be the core. But what we were mentioning before, it became like a mystical art of, I don't know, looking into the crystal ball and like, if you say this to ChatGPT, then it will give you the proper answer.
Because at the core of it, I think I love your example, because if you talk to a human or anyone, you need to give explicit instructions anyway. You know, it's like you said, if you came to me and said, oh, what's diabetes? Yeah, I can answer that in a million ways depending on who you are, what you want. You know, it's just basically, in some ways, it's clarifying those things in order for me to give you the best answer possible. Yeah. But you know, that's a soft skill that humans develop. I don't go around, you know, I'm a doctor and I see patients. I don't go around and say, oh yeah, I prompt engineered that patient to give me the correct history so I can reach the diagnosis.
Yeah, but see, the scenario is different. Because when you go to a patient and the patient asks you something, you know a lot already.
Sometimes no, I guess. If I'm GP and they come first time I see
you know
them.
They are a patient.
I know they're looking for something, yes.
Yeah, you know they're a patient. You know they probably don't know much about it, otherwise they wouldn't be asking you. You know already quite a few things.
But you'll be surprised, you know, just because they're a patient doesn't mean they have a disease. Sometimes they're just seeking reassurance, or they have some other ideas, or their family member had something and they want to clarify.
But you still have these couple of cases, or 10 cases, or whatever, different people that might ask you something. Here, it is like the same as meeting a strange person in the middle of a desert.
In a bus stop.
And then they ask you like, what's diabetes? You're like, what's wrong with you?
We need water to survive.
Exactly. You're like, oh my God, you're hallucinating, go back.
But no, I think that is quite interesting. I think in some ways, med school does teach us a lot about the history taking. And in some ways that is a kind of engineering of sorts, you know, learning how to talk to people.
No, but I think that's a different skill that ChatGPT doesn't have.
Yes.
And that it should acquire, which is the skill of, if I explained to you once, or if I asked you once what is diabetes, and then you answer, then I tell you like, oh, that's not what I meant. Like, I know everything about the disease. I just want to know potential medications. So over time, you learn about me. You learn that, oh, okay, this guy knows some basics of medicine. He is good at these things. He's not good at here. So you basically adjust your answers based on the historical conversation with me. But ChatGPT doesn't have that. Every time you ask something, it's like from the ground up.
Right,
They have recently introduced memory.
They have, yes.
So now you have memory in GPT, but I still didn't see it do better.
No.
So it doesn't have that skill of learning about you over time, and I don't know.
But you know, if you can't learn about someone, you can at least ask them clarifying questions, which is something that I would like to see actually.
Yeah.
You know, someone comes in with a very brief question, what is a seizure? You know, it would be great if you've taught the large language model to clarify a few of those things and ask some questions.
So last time we were speaking about reinforcement learning from human feedback, and the part of how that RLHF works is why it is much harder to create a proper data set where you are asking clarifying questions and all of that, as opposed to a data set where you have a question and you get an answer. So if you want to learn a bit more about that, like have a look at the last episode. But it is basically, I think it's just the case that it's harder to create these data sets.
Yeah, because it's fine-tuned on question-answer pairs.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
So maybe you need something like question-answer pair.
Yeah, you need like much longer...
Or question pair or something like that.
Yeah, and even online, like these models are trained on internet data. You don't really have many of those when someone asks a question that someone will ask a clarifying question. This does not happen on the internet. Like on the internet, when you ask a question, someone answers.
Yeah.
No matter how wrong they are, they will answer.
Or if you go on Reddit, they just ridicule you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's a stupid question. Why are you asking that?
Yeah, no one will ask like, oh, can you tell a bit more about it? No, that doesn't exist.
But okay, that brings us to, let's talk about some fun prompts or what common prompts there are. But because like you said, the large language model is basically a reflection of the training data. And as such, prompt engineering manifests itself as ways in which questions are answered well on the internet in many ways. So I think we gave the example before. If you ask the model to answer something step by step, which is called chain of thought prompting, it will do better, likely because in the training data and in forums, for example, if someone answers a question, let me think about this step by step, they're much more likely to answer that thoroughly, and the answer is probably a lot more comprehensive, and it's been shown to improve the reasoning abilities of the model.
Yeah, basically, when you tell that to the model understands, oh, this is the type of questions where I have to think deeper, where I have to break things apart, where I have to think step by step. And it is just finding the right phrases.
Yes.
Because I think when this paper, Think Step by Step, came out, they tested, I think, 10, 20 or 100 different of these, because it can be think step by step, or take your time to answer, or I don't know, whatever other chain of thought, no rush, what other chain of thought prompting you can think about. And this one turned out to work the best, which that one is a bit hard to explain. Possible that simply the embeddings of that work very well, or tell the model exactly, or the model understand that better. But one thing that is very annoying with all of these prompts that are very specific is that they are model dependent.
Yes.
So we know that the Think Step by Step works best for GPT-4, but I don't know, will that work best for Llama or Anthropic or whatever is the thing from
Twitter? Depends on the training data, right?
Yeah, it depends on the training data, and really can also depend on the architecture of the model, can depend on a million things.
Yeah.
And this is the shit part of the current prompts, is that they are tuned for a specific model. And once the model gets upgraded,
it might not work as well.
All of your prompts can just break.
And that's a very inefficient way of exploring large language models.
Yeah.
You're basically having the human race play online on ChatGPT or on whatever, Bard, and through iterations of that, they just coincidentally discover, oh, this prompt works.
Yeah.
So that's not a very scientific method in my view.
It can be a bit of trial and error, exactly, so that you can have a random generator of 10,000 different prompts and then find the one that works the best, and that's it. You also have...
Yeah, we'll get to that, but I just wanted to finish this part by just talking about, so just a few different prompts. I think you mentioned a funny one.
Oh yes, there is the I'll tip you $100 if you answer correctly, and then the model works extremely well. It immediately answers better. It gives you longer answers. It's nicer. It's like more polite and all of that.
I'm going to start trying that. I mean, that's really funny.
Yeah, I mean, this is again just fragments from the training data. The model knows that if someone gives you a tip, I have done a very good job. So there was the other one, which was like, if you tell the model that he is a good boy, the model works very well.
Okay.
That's
is
like
the model a dog or what?
Yeah, the model is basically a dog, so you tell it like good boy, and then the model is like, oh, okay, if I'm a good boy, then I need to do well. So the model does very well. So there are like strange fragments there.
I guess this is what is on the internet, and you know, it's just a reflection of the capitalistic tendency of our society, right?
Yeah, exactly. But it is just a reflection, as you said, a reflection of the data set. It is the same as with a human. If I tell you I'll give you $100 if you answer this properly, man, you will try more.
I'll work a bit harder.
Yeah, exactly. Sure. So it is the same.
But we do this podcast for free and we work really hard.
Yeah. But if someone gave us money, we would do better.
We'll start a Patreon soon.
Yeah.
But I wanted to show you this website just before we move on. So, you know, there's basically websites that have been created to basically distill all of these prompts. And I don't know, I think it's okay, but you know, it's done in a very kind of flashy way. You know, I feel like tech bros would love this website, but but yeah, look, self-consistency we talked about, you know, think about step by step. So chain of thought we talked about, which is you basically say, you know, think about this step by step. Another really common one is self-consistency, where basically you prompt the model multiple times and you basically ask the model to find the best aggregates of those results, what the best output is.
Or ask the same question in 5 different ways and then aggregate all of that, or make sure that it is the same answer in all 5 answers. So like, it's just self-consistent. You are asking 10 times and making sure you take the most consistent answer across those 10.
Yeah, so in a way you're kind of surveying more people and asking them in different ways. Well, people. I don't want to
one person, not people.
But you're asking them to role play. And likewise, there's a mixture of experts where you tell the model, oh, you are the experts in this domain, or you're a professor, you're a historian. What do you think about this X, Y, Z? And it's been shown that this kind of approach can also be very useful.
Yes, we don't want to use the mixture of experts. That's the
mixture.
Yeah, that's another way to basically, like GPT-4 is a mixture of experts, but that's our different architecture for creating basically better models. But we can address that in another podcast. But this is just you are prompting the model to be an expert in a field.
You know, I guess from a medical point of view, I just think this is very similar to a patient coming in and then they're seen by a generalist who then seeks specialist advice, sometimes from multiple different specialists. You know, you can maybe do something similar with large language models.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who are basically saying that is the future, or in the future models will be created in that way, in the way that you have a general model that knows a bit about everything, and then you will have ultra specific models that know a lot about a certain areas that this general model consults with. It's not that you will start communicating with this specific model, but no, the general model, like if you ask a specific question in molecular biology, this general model will be like, okay, I don't know that, but I'll ask this one who will then tell me, and then I will adjust the answer to the level of the person who I'm talking with.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we see this, right, in medicine. You have generalists like GPs or general medical consultants. And then if someone has a stroke, you consult the stroke team. If they have a bleed, you consult the medical team, the hematology team as well, and neurosurgical team. You're just trying to get all these different viewpoints and specialisms.
I don't know. I think we do this because one human cannot know everything. But one model could know everything. I mean, I think in fact the model will benefit from all of that knowledge being inside of that one model. But I mean, we'll see. I don't know. It's just, again, guessing what works better. Or what will work better. Maybe to go back to the website, I still think there is some benefit or there is some useful information in such websites. They're still aggregating a lot of these good prompts. And some of them are really like useful. Some of them show you how to properly define something. So how to properly ask a model something. So I think all of those are basically writing like a requirement specification document where you are putting all of that together for the task you want the model to solve. And some of these prompts are very nice. 99% are garbage, but some of them are very nice.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about an interesting paper that I read recently, and this was published in Nature actually. It's basically titled "The Diagnostic Reasoning Prompts Reveal the Potential for Large Language Model Interpretability in Medicine," a long title. But basically what these authors did was they wanted to try different prompting methods to see if they can improve the outputs of the model based on medical question and answering tasks. So I think they used QA, which is a open kind of question and answering database, asking kind of open-ended clinical questions. Yeah, so the purpose of this paper was to look at different reasoning methods. So they thought about whether we can use similar in how clinicians think, so intuitive reasoning, analytical reasoning, or kind of Bayesian inference. So that would be thinking about probability of someone developing a pneumonia or a complication. I thought it was quite an interesting paper because it tries to encapsulate how doctors think in clinical practice and try and include that within the prompts.
I think it's not bad. I mean, all of these papers show the possibilities of GPT-4 or ChatGPT or any one of these LLMs. They show that these models are capable of imitating maybe the way a doctor reasons.
Yeah.
But the prompts they use, or that prompt engineering part, is not what we should focus on. Those prompts, again, it can really be that in the next upgrade of GPT-4, they don't work at all.
Yes.
So the prompts are irrelevant here. What is relevant is that there is a way, or the models are capable of reasoning in a way that looks like a doctor.
Yes. And you know, the question also is, does that make the answer interpretable? Right? Because I think the authors do make a claim that perhaps with these prompts, the way the model reasons and explains itself is more interpretable.
Yeah.
But it's hard, I don't know, from my experience, it's hard to know, right? Just because the model outputs that series of words and tokens, does that truly mean that's how it reached the answer?
I think like here, if someone tells you something, does that truly mean that's the way they reached that answer? Like if you ask a doctor, what's the diagnosis for this patient, and they tell you something, is that truly the way? Or did they maybe have some subconscious, I don't know, something that influenced the way they answered? Maybe they were angry, maybe they were sad. Maybe something else happened and they just stumbled upon the answer. Like I think it is just like, if the answer makes sense to you and you're like, okay, this makes sense, or I agree with this answer. It is, to me, it is that is the same as if I ask it a coding question. When I don't know how to do something, I ask the model, oh, can you help me write this function? If what it writes, okay, that makes sense. Good.
But I guess my response to that is, you know, the large language model needs to be regulated and needs to be interpretable to be used on a mass scale, right, in healthcare, potentially making clinical decision supports, inputs. So
I don't know, does it? I would say...
No, I'm just saying it would be more, if we do ever want it in clinical practice, which is the ultimate goal, I think it needs to be more interpretable than just, the large language, the LLM told me that's what it thought, so that is the reason. I feel like it needs a bit more.
There is no better interpretability than the explanation the model tells you. I feel like if I ask the model, why did you say this is diabetes? It explains me everything, and this matches with the patient's history and matches with what I think.
You think that's good enough for you?
Not good. I think there is no higher. There is no interpretability the way people currently, what some people want to do is like do an X-ray scan of the model and then look at the weights.
Yes.
And that makes no sense. what will you, like, I don't know, what do you hope to find there? That makes perfect sense to me if I'm asking the model what's 1 + 1. I want to see what was connected so that it answers 2. But
maths is not a good example, right? Because we know LLMs perform quite poorly on arithmetic. And when you ask it, why did you reach this answer? It will explain to you, but even if it's the wrong answer.
Yeah, but see, that is my perfect validation, because if it doesn't give me a proper explanation, I will know. Because the only thing here is it means I have to be an expert in the field. Like, non-doctors cannot ask the model a question because they don't know anything about the field, and the model can just invent something the same way it will invent why 75 + 75 is 250, even though it's not. So yeah, I don't know. To me, that is the best way to do interpretability. It is let the model explain. If that explanation makes sense, that's it.
And if it doesn't make sense, then what?
If it doesn't make sense, it's just wrong. If a person gives you an explanation to you, it doesn't make sense, that person's wrong. I mean, if I know...
but then I wouldn't approve that person to see an infinite amount of patients theoretically and scale on a global scale, right?
But isn't that perfect? If the model answers everything correctly, then you approve it.
Yeah, but then if it answers them incorrectly, then
you don't approve it. I mean, it's so easy. It's like, when is the model ready to be applied? When it answers everything correctly.
Yeah.
The moment it doesn't.
I guess in my mind, it's not so simple as, correct or incorrect, right? Like, I guess they can be correct and give the wrong explanation, or incorrect and give the right explanation. Then what do you do?
Whatever is incorrect immediately doesn't work. So either the explanation is wrong or the answer is wrong. Whatever is wrung, it's like the model's not ready.
Fine. Okay. I feel like we're getting in a rabbit hole. But
yeah, sure.
But look, I think I just wanted to round up by giving my thoughts. I think, like you said, if the model changes or the training data changes or whatever changes, these prompts may no longer work / may not be effective anymore. Yeah. Which makes me think this can't be the way going forward. If we really want to scale large language models, we can't have humans just testing, trialing error, and finding prompts that work for this version of the model and maybe not the next version. It needs to be a more elegant solution, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's simple. The models should get better, and all the prompts should work for all models. I mean, if I tell it to take their time and think properly or think step by step, the model should immediately know what to do. There shouldn't be a difference between 2 versions and asking the same question, if the question is well defined. So I think the goal that we should strive for is a well-defined question should work for all models.
Or the model should be very good at asking clarifying questions, right? Just like a human.
Yes.
So my thinking was, will we reach a stage where essentially you get a large language model which prompts another large language model? So I guess you speak to the prompter, and then the prompter this may not be necessary, but I guess the prompter can then choose the best prompt for the model.
Yeah, I don't think that. There are some people who have tried this.
Yeah.
Where you use an intermediate model. So once you ask a question, use an intermediate model to expand the question, ask it in the proper way, and then forward it to the model.
So this is exactly the paper I read a few weeks ago. It's a concept called self-discover. Yeah. And it's published by some Google researchers, but they basically gave the model the choice of 39 different prompts. So they said, if someone gives you this question, have a look at these 39 prompts, and before that they fine-tune the model on prompts and the kind of questions that should be selected. So then the model has some choice as to which prompts to then use and adapt for the question that's been posed.
I don't know. I mean, it makes sense today. I hope that's not the direction we go in, because it would mean the models are stupid.
What do you mean?
Because if I have to explain that to a model, like a human would learn to do that by themselves. So you don't really give prompts to humans, or you don't need prompts for humans. If you ask a question, okay, now that I think about this, maybe you do need prompts for humans. Like there are certain ways in which you ask, but again, I just learned that. I don't need an interpreter in the middle. I mean, I learned the way to ask questions. So if I learn about you, I will ask the proper way to ask you a question so that I get the answer I want. I know what you know, I know a lot about you, so that basically I'm just learning about you. And that's, I think, the missing component.
But it is interesting, right? Because, seeing many patients, I also learn to adapt the way I ask things, the way I clarify things, depending on the patient and also the education of the patient and how they speak, I'll deal with them very differently. So I think there is something to it. Maybe the model needs to learn, maybe from all this interaction with ChatGPT that people are doing online, maybe it can learn some way to kind of reverse this whole process and learn what. I don't think the person needs to adapt their prompts. I think surely the model should start learning what that person wants, because people are asking things in the majority way, right? So the model should start learning, and that's where my analogy came in at the start. So we talked about the kind of parallels between prompt engineering and large language models and telephone operators in the 1870s.
Okay.
So when telephones first came out, there were no phone numbers. And the way you dialed to someone was you called the phone operator, and they would link you into something else. So in my view, this was very similar, because that profession died very quickly because telephones became widespread and people adapted and had phone numbers. I'm just thinking, is prompt engineering a dying profession as well in itself? If large language models figure out how to clarify questions and learn what people want when they pose a slightly not concise question, then do we need a prompt engineer? Should the model just adapt to a normal human being?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I still think it's not a dying profession in the sense that you always need to be capable of defining the task that you want someone to solve. Of course, I do think the models should help you there in the asking of clarifying questions and all of that, but you still need to be capable of doing that. You still need to know. Like, it is interesting. When we were doing the extraction of diseases from free text, it seems very simple if you say like, just go to a doctor and say like, extract all diseases from the free text, and I don't need to say anything else. I mean, it's clear what I mean. But very soon you realize, okay, what if the disease is mentioned for the patient's parents? Do we want to extract that? Like, if the experiencer is not the patient but is someone else. What if the disease is in the name of the profession of a person, like a diabetes nurse or whatever else? Do we need that? What if the disease is, negated? It's saying someone does not have
it.
There is so many of these different options that you understand. Then like, when we were specifying these guidelines, there was like 5 pages long of pure text just explaining everything that needs to be done to extract these diseases, or all the things we have to be all the things we have to be careful about. So I think there is, and that is basically prompt engineering. I am defining the task. So in a sense, prompt engineering is just properly defining the task. Now you can receive help from the model where it will ask clarifying questions, which you will for sure need a bit, but you will also need a bit of your own knowledge to be able to define the task or know what you want, basically.
Yes, and I think that nicely closes our session. We've explained what prompt engineering is and demystified that. And hopefully that phone operator analogy made some sense in the end.
I think it does,
So yeah, I think, feel free to like our videos and subscribe. We always like to hear from you, and we like the conversations. Let us know what you think about prompt engineering and whether you've found any interesting or useful prompts in your own work. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.